Today, on What It's Like, back at Max Motive, located in Chiswick, Pennsylvania, for another episode of This versus That, 1949 Ford versus 1950 Dodge Wayfarer. But before getting into all of it, I'm Jay. Welcome to What It's Like. Picture this: you just obtained a car you know nothing about, or perhaps you owned this car back in the day and you're just here to reminisce. Either way, we feature the classics, vintage, some exotics, lots of orphan cars, and cars that oftentimes get lost in the shuffle. If that sounds like a channel that you would totally dig, subscribe and hit the bell icon next to it to never miss a video. All right, right out of the gate, it's worth mentioning both of these cars have their own respected episodes. With that said, this is all new footage just shot 2 days ago, just comparing car to car. So we're not getting into all of the different engines or body styles, starting with the Ford with Ford specs. 196.8 inches long, 72.8 inches wide. It rides a wheelbase of 114 inches. It weighs 2,930 pounds. Price, $1,510, which is equivalent to you spending $18,831.10 in the year 2022. Moving on to the Dodge. 195 inches long, 63.5 inches tall, 73 inches wide. It rides a wheelbase of 115 inches. It weighs 3,200 pounds. Price, $1,756, which is equivalent to you spending $21,626.34 in the year 2022. Looking at the specs side by side, the Ford is longer by 1.8 inches. Not sure how tall the Ford is, but you can definitely tell it is taller than the Dodge. The Ford is actually bigger in every single measure compared to the Dodge, except for the wheelbase and the weight. The Dodge is 1 inch longer in the wheelbase, and it weighs 270 pounds more than the Ford. The Dodge also costs more at $246, or that would be equivalent to $3,041.95 in the year 2022. Moving on to engines, starting with the Ford, 239 cubic inch displacement flathead V8, 3.9 liters. It's good for 100 horsepower, 180 foot-pounds of torque. Compression is 6.8 to 1. 0 to 60 could be had in 17.2 seconds. 85 miles an hour is the theoretical top speed, while achieving up to 15.5 miles to the gallon. Moving on to the Dodge, 230 cubic inch displacement inline flathead 6, 3.8 liters. It makes 103 horsepower, 190 foot-pounds of torque. Compression is 7 to 1. 0 to 60 could be had in 22.1 seconds. Theoretical top speed, 80 miles per hour. Average fuel consumption, 15.9 miles to the gallon. Man, who knew this would be as close as they are? Even though the Dodge has a slightly smaller engine, it makes more power and torque than the Ford V8 with 2 less cylinders. But it is slower 0 to 60, 4.9 seconds slower. The Ford also has a higher top speed, but the Dodge just ever so slightly edges it in the fuel economy category. All right, let's talk styling and comparing these two. The Ford looks more bloated than the Dodge. The Dodge has lines everywhere. See how the lines come down, whereas the Ford is more round everywhere, if that makes any sense. In the comment section below if you agree with me. I'm not saying that it's a bad design. Frankly, I like both of these designs. I think they're both very cool in their own right. It's just when you compare it to that, it just looks rounded. Parking lights, headlights, bullet nose, which shares resemblance to the Studebaker as well as the Henry J. Hood ornament. This almost looks like a knight, like this is his, like the hair that they used to put on the knights' helmets, in my opinion. Over here, there's just way more lines. See how, when looking at the nose, how it just comes down to a point, how it's layered. Not to say it's not layered on the Ford, there's just way more layers on this than there is on that. And this hood ornament, it's a ram. So the side profile of the Dodge, this is what it looks like. Notice all the lines come back to the door. The door gets relatively smooth. and then more lines coming back to the rear. Notice the Chevy has gravel guards, whereas the Ford doesn't. The Ford has fender skirts, the Dodge doesn't. The Dodge has a fender bulge, the Ford doesn't. Both of the gas filler caps are on the right side. It's on the right side for the Dodge. It's also on the right hand side for the Ford. Even when compared to this, like, you can see so many differences. Like, the fenders on the Ford seem to sit up higher than the fenders on the Dodge. The Dodge seems to sit lower than the Ford does. These are curb feelers. You could put these on any car. If what they were intended to do is, when you got close to a curb, you could hear them. The Ford doesn't have any bright work on the bottom. The Dodge does. There's a better shot so you can see this one has a fender bulge as well as fender guards. If rocks would kick up, it wouldn't hurt the car. This one doesn't have that. This one has fender skirts, and there isn't a fender bulge. Also, it's very interesting to point this out too. So check out, these cars are pretty much lined up even with one another. The Ford looks like it's taller, and it doesn't look like there's as much room in the Ford, because look at how much room there is in the Dodge. Look at how far back the Dodge goes. I bumped into the fender feelers. Look at how much further back. The rear window ends here. And I'm gonna stand and I'm looking over, and it would be right here. So the Ford ends a lot shorter, but the trunk region in the Ford, from the outside anyway, looks a whole lot bigger than the trunk region on the Dodge. While talking about the trunk region, we might as well come back and talk about a few things. So here's what the rear design looks like. Just notice how this line comes back around here to the taillight region, and how this part comes down. Backup lights. Getting in the trunk section back here, there's a keyhole cover. This part shifts up. Here's what the trunk looks like in the back of the 49 Ford. Tons of room. There's a fire extinguisher back there, full-size spare, as well as car cover, and it goes clear back there. Let's talk about the rear design for the Dodge. Notice it comes back a whole lot farther than the Ford does. And it's wrap around back here. Look at how these lines come down. Has a nice light for the license plate. But despite the trunk looking small from the outside, it's absolutely massive. And the load floor goes below my knee. So you almost can just throw stuff in there. It goes back quite a ways. Full-size spare, bumper jack off to the side. Plus this light here, if you needed to see, you can turn the lights on. The light that would shine on your license plate, you could shine it in here and see all the stuff inside. Getting inside, notice how this door handle operates. It comes out like that. Let's talk about this door panel. Talk about this door first. It's all framed out. Here's my finger for reference. It's tri-colored. It's a different color material up here. This feels like cloth material that the seats could have been made out of. Vinyl material down here, all three different colors. armrest as well as door handle, pull the door shut. Door handle to get out. This is a window crank for the big window, and it looks like that. Vent window, push the centerpiece in, flip the wing out, I should say, flip the wing in, and that's how that operates. Just take a look at this interior. So coming over to the Dodge, just notice how the Dodge handle is designed. It also works totally different than the Ford handle. Turn it like this and open it. The door is a whole lot lighter on the Dodge, and it seems like it's a bigger door. It's designed completely different as well. It's framed out just like the Fords. Here's my finger for reference. Lots of different things going on. Also, the window feels like it's longer, but it's not as tall. Like, notice how tall the Ford is in reference to how tall the Dodge is. Nice materials used. This is the armrest as well as the door handle to shut the door. Here's the door handle to get out. This one also has vent windows, and they operate like that. This is the window crank for the big window, and it operates like that. And that was half. So check this out. This reminds me a lot of like a Rambler. So two cranks, and that's up. It was a lot more for the Ford. At this interior, coming down inside the pedal box down here, high beam switch on the floor. This is a pedal to rest your foot on. Clutch, brake, gas pedal, emergency brake and or hand brake, parking brake. The hood release is actually inside here. So pop the hood. Coming down inside the pedal box down here, high beam switch there, clutch, brake, gas pedal. Here is what over the hood looks like. Here's what first person looks like. Here's what under the steering wheel looks like. I wear size 34 pants and I fit in here perfect. If you wore size 36, you'd probably fit in here good. If you're any bigger than that, it might be a little bit snug. Up above, sun visors. They are nice padded plushy material. Here's my hand for reference. They're a bit on the narrow side, but they're not bad. Also, this roof is huge. Like, we'll get to that. Rear view mirror, the other sun visor. This is what I look like behind the wheel of the 49 Ford. There is tons of headroom, and I get it. Like, people used to wear hats. Like, women would wear sun hats, guys would wear top hats. I'm going to get a bunch of hats, and we're going to do the hat challenge just like we did the glove box challenge. Just give me some time. I got to find some hats. I did have some top hats. My wife did not like them, and I don't have them anymore. Maybe I'll get a sombrero. I think I have a sombrero at home. Maybe we'll do something like that. It'll be really fun. Here is over the hood impression. Here's what first person looks like. I can already tell you, I like the dashboard layout in the Dodge more than I like it in the Ford, but it's okay in both. I definitely like over the hood better. What do you guys think in the comment section below? Up above, sun visors. Notice my hand for reference. These are big sun visors. Got a nice rear view mirror there. Another sun visor over here. This car you sit down in. Once again, size 34 waist. There is more space underneath this steering wheel than there is in the Ford. You just sit in this car a whole lot lower than you do in the Ford. This is what I look like. There is tons of headroom in this car. There's more headroom in this car than there is in the Ford. That is 100% certain. You could probably wear a stove top hat like Abe Lincoln did in this car and not have an issue. On to the glove box test. Here's our test subject. Here's my hand for reference. This is the camera we do all of the cinematic shots with. Here is our glove box in question. This glove box is an optical illusion because you're like, there's no way that massive camera is going to fit in that tiny hole. But watch it. All right, so since upgrading to this bigger lens, it doesn't fit in there, but it fit in there with a smaller lens. For test subject, here's my hand for reference. Here is the glove box in question. Oh man, look at that. Not a problem. When it comes to glove box size, the Dodge has the bigger glove box. By far, it's way, way bigger. You could almost fit another one in there. Getting in the rear seat, the seat doesn't have a lock on the back, so you just push the seat forward. It also pivots out of the way, and that's how much space you have to get back there. This is what the back to front view looks like. This is my knee situation. There isn't, now I'm sitting straight up and the knee situation's a little bit better, but it's protruding a little bit on that side. Here's what the seat back looks like. As you can tell, it's a very upright seat position. The seat cushion dips down in the rear and juts up towards the front. This is what I look like in the rear seat. My head is grazing the top of the headliner, but if I had to sit back here, it's not bad. I'm a full-grown 2022 adult. I'm 6'2", and I get it. Kids, usually kids sit back here, but I just wanted to show you that if you went to the car show and you met some people and this is the car that you had, if they're around my size, they will fit. If they're shorter than me, they will fit back here a whole lot better than I do. Getting in the rear seat, fold the seat forward, it pivots out of the way ever so slightly. That's how much space you have to get back there. What the back to front view looks like. I can already tell you that there is way more space back here than inside the Ford. Way more space. I don't have to slouch down or anything. Tons of headroom too. Like in the Ford, I had to sit up a little bit higher to give myself more knee room. Don't have to do that in this car. This car is bigger than the Ford. There are some creature comforts back here. There is a light. There's lights on both sides, as well as grab handles on both sides. Coat hook on both sides. These windows do open, but they don't open the way that you might think. They open kind of similar to like Karmann Ghia windows. And look at how far they will go. That's insane. I mean, it might even go further. I just don't want to push it any further than that. Armrest. Check out this ashtray location right there. And everything that's on the driver's side is also on the passenger side. So there's also another ashtray over there. Here's what rear visibility looks like, or your view out the rear window. Notice the rear window curves. Got a nice shelf. And that's what it looks like out the back. Also, check out the armrest situation. It's almost like you're sitting on a comfy couch back here. Here's what the seat profile looks like, and it is a bit upright, but it's really not that bad. And the seat bottom does dip down back here, but it's really not that bad. There isn't any coat hooks back here, but there is a light switch for the dome light, which is in the back here, right behind my head. Armrest there, and that is how your arm would be positioned on the armrest. The windows do go down back here. Instead of opening up vent style, they go down, but they only go down about halfway. It's cool that you get this little quarter window as well. Very nice feature. Here's what out the rear window looks like. Notice the shelf. That's a really big shelf back there. I can't reach the window. That's how big it is. There's a secondary catch right here. You just push it in. It's hard to do this with just one hand. Hood is extremely heavy. And that is what the engine looks like. Flathead V8. It's got windshield washer feature. Notice with the Flathead V8, it has two water pumps, a water pump for each bank of cylinders. So there's a water pump down there on that side. There is another water pump over there on that side. Coming to the under the hood section. The hood popper is right here. You move it to the right. Looks like there's a secondary catch right here. And you pull it towards you. And that is what that engine looks like. Flathead 6. So Flathead 6 to the V8. Flathead V8, of course. This one's got aftermarket coolant reservoir, overflow tank. Okay, this is generally the part of the video where we talk pros and cons, but we've already covered the pros and cons, so we're just going to leave with some key takeaways of both cars. Both cars have loads of headroom. I like the dash of the Dodge over the dash of the Ford, but they're both great. Over the hood of the Dodge looks great as well. The Dodge has more space for passengers, and the seats were more comfortable to me than the Ford's. And the Ford has less rear cabin room, but has a larger trunk. If it was me, I would probably go with the Dodge based on looks and convenience alone. I haven't driven either of these cars, but honestly, I think one couldn't go wrong with either one of these. All right, now it's time for Name That Tune. First person to give me the correct name of the band as well as song title, both correctly, will have their comment pinned to the top of the comment section. Thank you all so much for coming out and watching this. I really appreciate all of the support. If you'd like to get in touch with me, shoot me a comment in the comment section below. I read and answer all comments posted. The second way is we have a Facebook group that correlates with this YouTube channel. There's no obligation to join, just simply saying that it's a thing. If you want to check it out, the link will be in the description. So until next time, toodaloo!